then you can decide for yourself whether that makes you want to do it as well or back off. Because, you know, the path is fraught with peril, passion, and a few wins. Oh, I almost skipped the most important character, Lancaster. Anybody that knows me knows that I really do believe that this specific region is one of the best places on earth for technology. I do not have time. I so wish I have so much to say on the subject, but I will talk about it all night at the after party, or I'll do a second go around if people are interested. But there is something about Lancaster culture, especially for the people that have moved in. I don't feel weird. There's cons, there's some pros, but once you understand it, you'll see, hopefully what I see, is that this is very fertile soil and a safe place to put down roots. It's got a few gotchas. So, ultimately my major goal here is to help inspire that energy to what I call a perpetual motion machine. That is a thriving tech community. I do believe that you can get something to such a state that it keeps itself rolling forward, but it is really hard to do. So if this talk helps build community momentum, and that momentum helps my company grow, well, me growing certainly helps this community's momentum grow. And I'm counting on that back and forth. And it's just one of the many things that I wouldn't have said 10 years ago. But I know now. The community needs the companies that care to make it happen. So how would we measure this? If this talk is worth your time, I would feel happy if any one of these things are true. If you learn one story that makes you value this place more, or a single person within it, you begin to appreciate them more. That's a successful outcome. If you are wondering what this tech scene might evolve into 10 years from now, as I did 10 years ago, and then you start to consider the impact of your personal attention on that arc, this is definitely a success. And if just one of my hard-earned lessons helps you avoid one of your own, that's the sacrifice I make every time. This is a lot of words to talk about the words I'm going to talk about, right? Yeah, that one doesn't. I'm just going to skip it. So, structure, skip the readme in a room full of engineers. It's because I know it doesn't work already. I don't need to matrix it out and diagnose. I just noticed that the structure is kind of like messed up. So here's what was happening. The idea was, slides that look like this are prompts. And I'm going to montage images upon them and give a succinct, quick statement of what that was. Because there's so much packed into the story that that's the only way I could get through it. I'm incredibly long-winded. So the idea was, it's like a Rorschach's ink blot test. And I was going to, smack images up. And then, after each prompt, I was going to be like, here's the takeaway. I didn't get to that. But I'd have it, not increment by increment, but I have it on the whole. So we're going to still end up in a good spot. But that's sort of, you'll see a little, some things might go awry. We're going to keep rolling. All right, so now beginning. It is a damn difficult thing to reflect on 10 years. I'm hoping that right now you're thinking about 10 years ago for yourself. And what would you do if you could get a hold of your 10 years old self, or younger self? And what would you tell them? Bitcoin. My story will tell you, well, you could probably still win, but I'll show you that, we had that 10 years ago. And we screwed that up too, didn't we? What I find when I look at a broad range is that it's not just the individual things, but it's a theme that emerges. And so stop and think, when you think about 10 years ago, does any immediate theme, it's like, yeah, 10 years, that's it. Anything jump into anyone's head? And I would have the courage to blurt it out. And I don't blame you if you don't, because I've been doing this for a month now, I've had plenty of time to reflect. But I've noticed these patterns. And a lot of times, they're hard to say because they're connected to something that you don't take the time to actually articulate or quantify or identify, and we just lazily call them dreams. Do you remember what you dreamt about 10 years ago? What you wanted to see happen? We're in the presence of a guy who's helped start CPOS. 2 of them, 3 of them. You know you had dreams. What did you want to get out of this career? Why are we in tech? Dreams are the easy way of allowing ourselves in to situations that are kind of too hard to sort out, right? And what I wish I could say to myself 10 years ago is, you don't need dreams as much as you need a vision. Because a vision is a fire hardened dream. Dreams you can have a lot of. Dreams can take you in a lot of directions. Dreams can end up distracting you. How do you know which ones are going to be the ones that you're going to want to take? Yeah, that's true. That's a joke, I can move on. There's the whole, I wish that I knew what I know now. That song. This is what I wish I knew then. So the idea is going to be that I was going to sort of map these themes so you can, I want you to pay attention to them. There's a lot, I'll have to read them. I hate a good wall of text in the presentation, but I was moving fast. I'm sorry for dishonoring you. But I'll stop apologizing so we can be, yeah. All right, so vision is more valuable than a dream. That's what I learned from 2008 to 2013 when I bought my business. Are you a lifestyle business? If you are thinking about being a business, are you a lifestyle business or are you a growth-centered business? That is a huge distinction, and knowing which one or where you are is massively important. It took me all of the 10 years to figure out that I probably need to figure that out. A frontman sucks without a band, and every band that wants to grow needs a leader. Lean into the symbiosis of roles and recognize it back and forth. Not everyone can do everything organically. Not everyone can care for each other's feelings in every single situation, but if you can clearly articulate what is expected of one another and say, we both care about this outcome, don't we? You should be able to get there. 4 is, can a programmer realistically work for the same company and expect a fulfilling life? This was the question that prompted the Industrial Resolution dream. We didn't have a vision, we had a question. And after 10 years, I can tell you, yes, loyalty can exist in tech, at least in Lancaster. You get on Reddit and you just think, but it is my obligation to screw every company and take care of myself. But I think as human beings, we know that we are built for relationships, and it's a pretty good deal to work alongside people that you care about and enjoy. That's just me. This is selfishly all my point of view, which is amazing, because in this tech community, I was always so cowardly about saying those things, and I had to learn it. But this question is something that, well, it launched 1,000 ships, I guess. Community is a very compelling thing. It's almost like a drug, for that same reason that we went like working alongside each other. Being in this room together feels so much better than being in a Zoom together. There's just like, there's so many things to be said, but I'm not gonna say them. It's so compelling that it's dangerous. It compels people in powerful ways. It hits them emotionally, and they do things that maybe they wouldn't otherwise. And when things get weird, it gets salty. But here's the catch. Like, communities don't save themselves. It is people that choose to push and lead and challenge that same community. I submit to you that this conference would have an attendance of 165, modestly, if Luke Demme didn't start pushing and challenging a few months back. Momentum's funny like that. How many people that are giving a talk today also gave a similar one in Tech Lancaster recently? Like, it's all stitched together. So to get more momentum going, I'm accepting it. Companies aren't evil for a community. They are huge, huge boon. And without some back and forth and some mixed interest, communities are often going to be in a little bit of danger. Now, again, I'm going to go ahead and caveat this very clearly. I believe this works in Lancaster. I don't think it works everywhere. And that's because of, well, I'll get there. Maybe later tonight. Okay. The final thing, I already said, is about momentum. It can get there if we get to a certain point. What happened when Christian and company and Jay started this way back in the day, I'm going to tell you about the time that keeping CPOSC alive was the hardest thing in my entire life. But there was a magneto spinning in my heart that would not stop because the momentum of this community was at a point where you can't just give up on it. You have a sense of obligation to it. Have you ever felt a sense of obligation to a non-contractual relationship? With a big group of people? This is what the tech community in Lancaster has been for me. And I know this sounds weird, and I don't even know what you think of it so far, but I can just tell you that tech I stumbled into, and it was basically this question: can a programmer realistically work for the same company and have a fulfilling life? It's this mixture of, yeah, because everyone understands work, and everyone understands pride in their work, and the variables that make that up are, well, somebody has to value it, somebody has to recognize it, somebody has to appreciate it, and working alongside of each other feels good when your work is actually valued. And around here, nobody pays for anything if they don't value it. And we're expensive. The other thing is that, yeah, so I looked towards Silicon Valley because tech is bereft of examples that aren't backed by huge budgets. When you look at culture, what do we have to aspire to? FANG, and on their way up, VC with their money to burn. Where are those tech companies that were like, yeah, they're cash flow positive with an average salary that's below? So again, Lancaster, I believe, is that place where that can happen. All right, these are the themes. Pay attention now. I'm going to move you a lot faster. The first one was vision. The main thing is keeping the main thing the main thing. If I would have known that and done it, everyone would be in such a better place. I'm so sorry. Remember this slide? I sort of skipped it because I wasn't going to do the thing, but it also appealed to me because one of my major challenges in life was I drew no lines at all between work, personal, and this community. When I bought in, and I believed it, right? Like, that's what I believed in. And so it wasn't, these lines weren't hard and fast, they were more like, yeah. It was just a mishgas. So, imagine trying to write an employment contract around that. We were all laughing at the emails. Like, I went back and was like digging up all the emails when people submitted their resumes. You wouldn't even believe the dirty, foul stuff that was coming out of my mouth. It's not your normal professional thing, but I was thinking, well, these people are going to be my friends. I mean, this is more of a professional thing that's in 3 nice stripes. That's something that came out of Lancaster County. It separates these flavors clearly. So here we go. Here comes the image barrage. You ready? Blink. See what I can do. So, Some significant events in the history of technology. Y2K, bump, boom. I was in youth, yep, there's a story. Dot-com bubble burst. Raise your hand, you know it, you were there, it was horrible. I was in high school, beating the hell out of a Volkswagen Bug. The launch of Windows XP, just the most successful operating system to date, was still being used when I got into the industry in 2008. iPod release in 2001 was a massive game changer. The introduction of Wikipedia. It was like the fulfillment of so many people's dreams. The launch of Facebook shortly thereafter. My clicking in the right order, I don't know. Yeah, it was the Facebook, there it is. The introduction of YouTube, the release of the iPhone in 2007, and the launch of Android quickly thereafter in 2008. What's notable about that I think changed my company's future, and I never did have a chance of realizing then, is that introduction of the App Store changed everything. Prior to that, large teams built software in complex ways. And this was the introduction of the cottage industry to tech. Right? 2 to 4 person teams could get a truckload done, and it spread everywhere. There was a pressure to learn to build apps. And then, here we go. Yeah, no, it's down there. All right, here we go. All right, now, my version. Here I enter the scene, plucky young man coming in from running a farmer's market stand in Lebanon and framing houses. I meet a guy at a wedding in northern Ontario who thinks I would be a great salesperson. He happens to live here in Lancaster, and so did I. What are the odds? In the Canadian bush, we talk about, working. So here it is, it's September of 2008. It's a great time to go looking for a job. The housing market is crashing. By October 15th, I believe, the government had chosen to bail out AIG. And just a few days later, I got my job. That's a hell of a time to get a job. My pay was $1,200 every 2 weeks. It was doable. This is what websites used to look like for those of you who are really young. This would be, CSS, no. This is straight coded. And that was, I applied on that thing, not for computer programmer position, but, that was that. AMQ Software stands for Anna Michael Jacqueline, the owner's name. And the reason that they had grown to 9 developers was because this guy, being a PA Dutch Lancastrian, you might know about the famed work ethic and pride of work, blah, 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 that these people have, was at one time in the top 10. Who knows what Run-Coder is? Have you ever done it, played with it? And you know about the top coder? There's no top 10.
I've been that far now.
I mean, it's a game changer. Another Lancastrian. Very proud. But basically, we're talking about out of hundreds of thousands of programmers, this is projects satisfied, customer rated, and you just keep getting more work. If you're on that list, you just keep getting more work. So he kept getting all this work, and you need somebody to do it. He grew to 9 developers. Well, do you know what's really hard when you're trying to come into a tech company and sell and you don't know much about tech? Well, those 9 developers all have different skill sets, and if you remember what that was like back in 2008, no 2 of you could ever work on the same project. We had Flash, I remember it gave us we would have these wonderful Flash thing, Flash games, and, banding them around. There was so many different languages spoken or written in IndieRes, but I was tasked with getting people to know who we were locally, not just online. And so I did what anybody would do. I picked a high-profile target that didn't have a website, and I convinced my boss to build it for free. Central Market didn't have a website. Who screwed that up? And so the next few months of my life were spent interviewing each and every one of those standholders and writing the content and helping the thing get done. That was a hell of a sale. Best day of those early years I'll never forget was when 18 computers, and he built from the bottom up. And they sat me down and showed me how to do the first one, watched me do the second one, and I built the other 16, all while watching Tron and eating pizza with bacon on it. It was the coolest. I was like, I walked into the coolest job in the world. Which, by the way, original Tron? Yes, no, anyone? Yeah, okay. I fell in love with the problem-solving capabilities of the people that were on our team. It was, as I brought in all of these random jobs, I realized, like, they have yet to say no to a thing. They just always said, well, what's the next thing? Well, we need more info. And I became a middleman. And it was an incredibly empowering thing, because I'm really good at connecting people. And when I connect people, cool stuff starts to happen. And I'm like, whoa, here's an entirely valuable skill that I definitely know no one around here knows anything about. And I'm going, this is wonderful. This is a symbiotic relationship. And it was hard-earned, those relationships, but that's what we did. Lon Farrenwell worked at AMQ. Lon's one of the original people that helped out with CPOS. He's a great guy. He sends this. This is not the kind of sponsorship request I sent. But it worked. And I'm like, yeah, Brevity, I should try it. All right, CPOS 10. There it is. We saw that one already today. And good grief. Okay. All right, so yeah, I got to finish that one out. So basically what happened was the housing bubble caught up. Selling for 9 different pipelines could not be done by me, apparently, not in a recession. And so developers started to take other jobs. And the big kick in the old ass was that one of our huge clients decided they wanted to outsource everything to India, but they wanted to take our boss along to manage the project, and he agreed to it because he was Mennonite. It was like Mennonites are the original OE, overemployed, that stuff. And so he's like, I'm up for it, sure. And then slowly but surely he started to hire everyone else that was at AMQ away because we were running out of business. One day he looks at me and he says, Joel, would you like to run this company? Because I'm going to sell off a book of business. Or rather, you're going to sell off a book of business, and that'll be your last day. I'm like, well, every 2 weeks, another paycheck. This is the definition of how a lifestyle business starts. That's why I'm just trying to get by the next paycheck so you can make it out on Friday night. That sounds like a lifestyle business. Industrial Resolution is born, and now we are in the what's funny is this was our original mission and vision statement, and I love it. Over the past 10 years, I've hated it so much. I wanted to change it, but I'm like, it actually really works. Industrial Resolution exists to provide the clients with progressive insight into complex technological issues. We resolve those issues with handcrafted solutions. The use of handcrafted was really what bothered me because it got really trendy, but I just meant care. Our company is really boiled down into 2 things. It's cura et industria. It's care and industry. Alex Barger was the first person I brought on board. He's been with me ever since. Soon after came Jake Whetstone. When we had a team of 3, we're like, well, how are we going to coordinate? Emails aren't doing it anymore, and so we started looking at management software. So naturally, we picked the one that Coca-Cola would use, because that made sense. And so we started using Jira. And Jira, of course, takes some doing. So we were like, we need to learn about this. So we hopped on the train, went down to Philadelphia, and went to the Attendees user group meetup. And this is like, we've been successfully taking care of business for a little while now, but nobody knows about us. We're just in our little hole. But this is like the cue, the breakout moment. We go to the Atlassian user group meetup. Who's running it? It's the people at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia's Research Institute. We meet them, we walk right in the door. You know who's organizing? Kristen Souter. Does anyone know Kristen? Souter's a good PA Dutch name, by the way. She is also one of the co-founders of ZenKaiCon. Anyone know ZenKaiCon? Yeah. It wasn't that night. I think it was like one of the later user group meetups. But they had moved their con to the Valley Forge Convention Center. And they're like, Valley Forge needs us to leave because they went to some construction. We can't come back next year. And I'm like, oh, the lecture just built this big old Triangle Convention Center, maybe you should come here. So all the anime stuff, indirectly, I'm sure they vetted and looked at many options and made a careful choice. But I did. But hey, you should go check it out. I think I brought anime to Lancaster. Small claim to fame. We immediately crapped our pants. We're like, how the hell are we going to satisfy this enormous entity, right? And so we did what anybody would do. We called the last person that gave us insight and wisdom, and that was Jake's professor, because neither Alex or I actually graduated. Well, actually, Alex did. He was an electrical engineer, but I digress. We called Dr. Schwartz over in Millersville, said, do you have any, not looking for a normal, a colorful, maybe up for a, we're just weird and we need a weird programmer that's good. I got you. Jim's one of us ever since. What else do we do then? Well, I don't know. The Atlassian user group thing worked. What meetups are there? Get on meetup. Oh, there's this thing called New Tech Meetup. It's been happening since 2008. I reached out. This guy, John, he's awesome. I sent him an email. I said, John, I want to talk about New Tech. Founded in 2008. Trends, their subject matter shifts as technology shifts and evolves. In 2008, it was all social media and applications, new methods of software development, cybersecurity, cryptocurrency. Startups, everyone was thinking B2C in 2008 and 10. Why? App Store. There's an increasing B2B focus that took hold and is still in force. First serving software developers with tools to write, instrument, test, deploy, and manage their applications. Now, we're focusing on B2B tech-enabled applications to support particular business functions, which is exactly what industrial resolution does. This entails a return management process, auto return logic, analytics for manufacturing, blah, 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 blah. But I can share this with anyone because if you want to see kind of like, it's interesting, the talks given at a meetup can be archived over time as indicative of the trends, right? So it's fascinating stuff. The audience has always been pretty consistent throughout startups and someday startups, technologists, marketers, creatives, and IT professionals. But we never had anyone pump huge money in here. The closest thing we had was MapQuest, which was awesome. MapQuest was here, and they had an office that was the envy of all. And New Tech would be in it, and ping pong tables and stuff. I was like, where is this candy land? But MapQuest wasn't for me, but Tyler Golden was. And Tyler came along, and John introduced us. And so there, we spent about 6 or 8 months just figuring out how to work as a team with these two new guys. And we slowly started to gel. And the last thing we did before it just took off was put this website up. We finally got away from the AMQ name and used the brand that we had already done, but just never launched because we were too damn busy. We launched this thing, and here's what happens. I have to read instead of look. Okay. We're getting mayors elected. We're building CNC router software. Call center tech on voice over IP using Twilio. E-commerce was being built on Magento. Websites on WordPress. We had Venezuelan clients reaching out to weird places, talking to us about PHP work and soil compaction with some incredible tools that they were using. And they spoke mostly Spanish, so I called my friend Beth, who's a rock climber, and said, Beth, you're fluent in Spanish, would you just come on as a temp and translate for me? And that literally, she was our project manager then, just for that project, and just getting the job done. It was great work. Tyler was crushing that. We ended up working for the National Alliance and Homelessness out of Washington, D.C. We moved out of our basement office into the Grice building. We had Amish shed building clients. We had Mennonite pole barn building clients. We had ex-Mennonite pole barn supply company clients. I do this quite literally to show what it's like to do business here, but also because there's this, it has its own pipeline, the degrees of separation from Amish. It's all part of the fabric here. PA Foundations was a grant searching website that would have benefited so much from Elastic if only we knew about it back then. And we had safety equipment retailers on Drupal. We had manufacturers that wanted to stop people from reading the newspaper on the bathroom break, so they, because they sit there for a long time, so we were doing biometric hand scanning and time tracking. all sorts of weird stuff. I mean, we never were just software either. It was just this hobbyist tinkerer stuff. It's the problem to solve, not the technology you get bound to, right? That's what happens when you are solving complex problems for people instead of we're in a software team. So that was our focus. Custom tablet app. We wanted to do a lot more app development, and so we decided, just like the central market, we wanted to get something high profile. Does anyone know? Everyone knows what the extraordinary give is. They need an app because people all over the place need to like click that button like obsessively. That's what a great thing. So we built an app year one. We built it in year two as well, and basically gave it away for a song. Our work took us all over. I could hardly breathe. The team got hot. They put me on the friggin' cover of a magazine. It actually pissed me off, but then like they were like, "Who's going to do it? We should do it." And because I still hadn't figured out me versus it versus that versus, I was uncomfortable. Jake Whetstone one day took me aside at a meetup and said, "Joel, you have to stop introducing yourself as a colleague. Just tell people you're my boss." I needed that. And that kind of, who goes into business and has that kind of trepidation? Me, a lifestyle business guy. The thing was, I gotta keep going. Life. Boom, we picked up our first rock and roller. I don't know if you've been reading Rolling Stone lately. They are into some shady stuff. So I'm not necessarily proud of it, but we didn't have anything to do with it, so that's good. The other thing that happened is, and I think this is a really important thing, is in tech meetups and tech communities, we often think of tech people, but the things that we couple up to are other meetups and other communities and other groups in the regions that we are. So the big one here was, for me, was the Lancaster Chamber of Commerce. And Peter Barber, who became our client, is just a cool guy. You would not think a painting company is just a source of inspiration and innovation, but in Lancaster, they are. That guy gets me put into the Lancaster Chamber. And here's the thing. I had literally already said, I hate this thing. It's not worth my time at all. I'm never going to join. But I was wrong. The trick is, the lesson learned is, go straight to the board of directors. Don't dally along the way. Just get the plan right at the top, and that's where the magic happens. And how do you do that? Probably by giving away extraordinary give apps and things like that. But the point is, that's what happened to me. I can't explain it, but that's what happened. I was not a member. I had to join the chamber so I could join their board. I did not know their tenants bylaws. I didn't end up reading them either. I would just show up and tell them what I thought, and they seemed to like it. Here's what was happening in the community during this time. This is all pre-2013. So the chamber starts building up. CPOS is already rolling. New tech, of course, we talked about. There's the Lancaster Drupal user group. So this was us. This was, well, we're doing a lot of Drupal lately. What can we do? So we organize a Drupal users group. We invite people to our office in the Grice building. Exactly one person shows up and he's talking on the main stage. And that was awesome. This is the first time we met Rich, and he's been an interwoven part of my life ever since. We've worked together and almost worked together so many times I can't even count. We arrange a meeting with the Lancaster Science Factory, because I'm friendly with the director. And we're like, we know where it'll get more people to show up. It's if it's in a cool venue. So after hours, the Science Factory is ours. You can bring your kids if you want. Let them play with stuff. And we're going to do like an adult meetup. We think it's a great idea. We get silent people. Most of them are us. And we ended up kind of feeling like frustrated. Now at the same time, Court Ewing and Elise Ewing have started Pub Standards. Pub Standards is a post-conference drink-up without the conference. Right? That was very popular when most of us were hanging out drinking. So popular that we decided once a month wasn't enough. Let's do it twice a month. And we called it substandards. And the one, it was weird how a name matters because substandards definitely had we got a little substandard. But out of that comes, I almost want to skip. Let's see, where am I? Yeah, there's Drupal. Oh yeah, we're doing this. Okay, holy crap, I can't skip. I get married. Yeah, that's important. It's the. I didn't start my timer. I'm 20 minutes in. Okay, I'm doing all right. No, I'm not. How far am I? How much time do I have? Am I done?
It's 4:42.
How much time do I
It's
have?
4:42. You've been going for 42 minutes.
You're over time.
I'm over time.
You're 2 minutes over.
So I guess we'll have to do a to be continued. I kind of had a feeling this would happen. And I tried to get it done, but
I got 2 10 years ago, so.
yes, there's a good long story. Boy, oh boy, that's disappointing. Let me do one quick tail end then, because I think it's important to address the community part. So here comes, this is the Tech Lancaster origin story. So Tyler Golden gets into community stuff right away. Here's what happened. Gordon Elise, just enough of that, so we can't see the other stuff. All right. You're not going to be able to read that anyway. I'll read it to you. All right, so what happens is this. Tyler says, at Substanders, and Larry Marburger, we're drinking. Where is Larry? All right, good. So I wanted to question me reading it off. But this is what Tyler said happened, and I agree. But again, Substanders. We were kind of pissed that nobody was showing up for the dev group. So but we had this cool hookup with Science Factory. What could we do about it? He said, well, why don't we just open it to all tech? You know, who cares if it's just stuff we can work on or not? Of course, I'm like the guy that's supposed to be a business owner. I'm like, no, we have to do Drupal because that's what we're doing a lot of. And then, you know, they just kept plying me with beers, and then I was like, all right, fine. So this was his email. He follows up shortly thereafter. It says, I'd like to start putting stuff together for the monthly meetup, mostly in off work time. You know, here's what I'm thinking. Can you give me some feedback and a green light to run it? I want to gain some momentum, or try to get momentum while people are still thinking about it from the last substandards. Pick and confirm a monthly meetup time at the Science Factory. Purchase the domain name. He asks for $9.99, and because it's just awesome. This is who we were. It's just it's very fond memories. We sets up a one-pager and a meetup, and 3 weeks later, the first Tech Lancaster meetup held on July 15th, and the rest is sort of history. And one of the things I want to talk about or point to is that this community and the way it was all interwoven to all of this. You know, Mel, how did you find out about us?
Reddit post.
Mm-hmm. And where'd you show up?
Science Factory.
Yeah, we met Mel at Tech Lancaster. Cole came out of the Thaddeus Stevens program. I don't know how Tim knew about us, but Tim knew about us in this place too. The point is, this community thing has that interwoven nature, and I just wanted to at least stop there. Sorry it took so long. I'm very, very regretful because there's a lot more to say. But that's all there is today.